And we are live. Well, hello and welcome to the Movie Paradise. I'm your host, Nathaniel Molnar, and this is the Movie Paradise show that we do live here. Here, let me scooch a little bit. That we do live here every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm joined with me, Rob Giginto. Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's just nice to be on the camera instead of
usually in the chat. So today's chat is a little bit informal. We were trying to have, because in the previous shows we've had graphics and everything, and I was trying to do that, but I just didn't have enough time to properly program everything. So we're like, you know what? We just got to do it live to get things going. So if things don't sound perfectly or things don't operate perfectly, I apologize about that. If you mind taking a step back just so we don't bump the mic here. All right. So yeah, I think things look good. We might as well get things going. So the first thing we're going to talk about today, assuming that the mic works and everyone can hear us just fine, is, Rob, you had a chance to go see the new film, Alita Battle Angels. Why don't you give us your spoiler-free thoughts on Alita?
I loved it. It was just so good. It was fine. I will say I have to give this movie credit. It definitely didn't take any chances. It definitely wasn't cookie cutter or something like that. Like, you could tell that Robert Rodriguez, who made this, that he definitely put his heart and soul into this. Just the way this movie looked was incredible, I have to say, especially on the Dolby Cinema screen. And the effects were top notch. And I do give him credit because you see a lot of these big blockbuster movies nowadays that kind of just like to skimp around the special effects and they don't look as good. Mm-hmm. But this one, the special effects are phenomenal in this movie. I don't know what else comes out at the end of the year, but I could see this maybe getting an Oscar nomination next year.
For visual effects?
They were fantastic, I have to say. And Rosa Salazar, I believe that's her name, she plays Alita, and it's a very, very good motion capture performance. Probably the best one I've seen since Andy Serkis in the Apes movies.
How were her eyes?
You know what? Honestly, once the movie goes along, you don't see it anymore. It kind of just blends in.
Because that was my big thing.
No, I agree.
That was my big thing from the trailers, is that I thought the CGI eyes looked terrible.
Yes.
But it seems like it didn't really take you out.
It didn't bother me once the movie started going. But what I will say about this movie is what it has in production value. I say it doesn't have a lot when it comes to a compelling story and compelling characters outside of the main lead. You have a lot of actors in here that great actors that are just sidelined to mediocre supporting roles like Christoph Waltz, Jennifer Connelly, Mahershala Ali, that we know how good of actors they are, but they're not given much to work with. And I think a lot of the problem has to do with the script, co-written by your boy, James Cameron.
James Cameron.
He's a very ambitious man, and I'll give him credit for all the other stuff he's done, but this screenplay I don't think was that anything to write home about it when it comes to story. I think it lacked in that regards, and just overall, the characters, like the only one you really care about is Alita, to be honest with you. The other ones you could just take or leave, and just whenever it's Alita on screen, the movie it's workable. It's easy to watch, but whenever they try to get you to care about these other plot lines, mainly in the third act, when those really come into play, you kind of just lose interest. And I think the movie's a tad overlong as well, I would say.
Yeah.
No problem with it.
So what would you give it out of 5?
I'd go right under fresh, probably a 2.9 out of 5. I'd say if you were curious about it, check it out. If you didn't really care, don't. I'd just say just stay home.
Yeah.
Or see something else.
All right. Well, the next movie we're going to talk about today, we both had a chance to see it yesterday. It's Happy Death Day to You. Mm-hmm. Now, we actually just got finished interviewing the director of Happy Death Day. He didn't write the first one, but he directed the first Happy Death Day. And then he both wrote and directed this sequel. So we just had a chance to talk to, his name is Christopher Landon. We just had a chance to talk to him about his work on Happy Death Day. That interview will probably go up in the next couple days. It went really well. Very excited. But let's talk about the movie.
Yep.
Spoiler free, of course. I really like this movie. Now, I had not seen, you have a little bit different of a story, but I had not seen the first Happy Death Day until yesterday, right before we went and saw the new one. So I didn't know. I mean, other than your rave recommendation, I really didn't have any sort of expectations as to, was it gonna? Did I think it was gonna be any good?
Whenever I say a movie's awesome, just take me at my word. That's all I'll say.
I really enjoyed the first one. I thought it was a really good blend of horror with comedy, and I really got into it. But the second one, I think, exceeds the first one. It really kind of finds its footing as this kind of goofy science fiction comedy movie. And I think it really embraces its genre and it really embraces its tone and it fully goes for it. Whereas the first one is kind of like half of it's a horror movie and the other half is more comedic. This one's comedic all the way through. Other than maybe the first 10 minutes, it doesn't really pretend to be a horror movie. And really, I think I liked that more. I enjoy that movie rather than like the slasher horror version of this movie. You really care about the character of Teresa Tree, played by Jessica Roth. The first movie really gets you invested in her character, and this it continues. And so even as like the stakes are going up and the scenarios and situations that she and the rest of the supporting cast are getting themselves into, as that gets crazier and crazier, you're still grounded by the fact that you care about this character and you're invested in her and you want to see what happens to her. So I never really felt taken out of the movie. Like there's certainly some really out there ludicrous things that happen in this movie that all have the potential to make you just go, what? No, and check out the movie. But that never happened to me because I just wanted to see what happened to her character. I cared about her character. And I think that's one of the things that these movies have done so well is give us such a great character.
I agree with you as well. I'm a big proponent of the first movie. I really love it. It's one of my favorites. And I think the sequel, I don't know if I'd say it was better than the first one. I know you liked it a little more, but I did. It works perfectly with the first one. And
great companion pieces.
Agree. They're meant to watch back to back, I feel like. And Jessica Roth gives a, if not better or just as good as her performance in the first movie. And I like in this movie, though, we get to see characters that we didn't get a lot of screen time with in the first one get more light. I think we got more of Danielle. We got more of the Asian character. We get more of the boyfriend. Then we get new characters like the two new people that were working on the kind of the time machine, the whatever it's called.
The experiment.
Those characters, yes, those characters were very good. We get a Dean character, Dean of the principal. I thought he was hysterical. Wacky. And the best new character I thought was a character that we knew about in the other movie, but we had not seen her, was the mother. And I think that storyline was the best.
That's going a little. I mean, is it in the trailers?
I mean, I didn't say what happened. I just.
Well, let's just avoid that part.
All right, never mind. So yeah, I liked it.
Okay. Yeah. So if you had to give it a rating out of 5, what would you give it?
I'd go 4 out of 5.
All right. I'm going to give it a 4.1 out of 5. I'm going to be just there. So anyways, those are our reviews for Alita Battle Angel. Of course, I didn't see it, so that was all you. Happy Death Day to you. Go see that one in theaters because it's not doing too hot at the box office and we need a third one. So go see Happy Death Day to you. Moving right along to some of the movie news that's out there. So this Dune movie, I feel like every single episode of the Movie Paradise Show, I'm commenting on new Dune casting. And we have another one. Jason Momoa, the star of Aquaman in theaters right now that made $1.1 billion. Jason Momoa has joined Dune. And I guess you haven't really commented at all on any of the Dune castings of late. So you hear Jason Momoa is joining. You already know that Javier Bardem, Oscar Isaac, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, who just added Josh Brolin. Any of these actors, Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah.
You hear all of these people are joining Dune. What are your thoughts?
I have loved every casting announcement they made so far, except for Jason Momoa. I frankly do not find it. Well, the movies I've seen him in, I don't frankly find him to be that great of an actor. But I think with a director as talented as Denis Villeneuve, Villeneuve, I think he'll be able to bring out a good performance out of him. But if I'm being honest with myself, I did not find him to be that good in Aquaman or really Justice League or anything I've seen him in. So I'm kind of mixed on it. But I think that he in Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista probably gave his
And Dave Bautista's in this one too.
Yeah, probably gave one of his best performances in that movie. Is a more dramatic.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping he can get a good performance out of it. But if I'm just hearing the initial news, I'm lukewarm on it.
I think it depends upon the role.
Yes,
because if they have him in a
side,
if it's a small side supporting role, I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah,
I think in Aquaman, I didn't think his performance was necessarily bad, but he didn't do the greatest job leading that movie. And so I think if he's just in it like a side supporting role and the weight of the movie isn't on his shoulders, especially under the direction of someone like Denis Villeneuve, I think they could get a good performance out of him. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we'll be walking away from Dune going, oh, Jason Momoa, best part of the movie. Or maybe we will. Who knows?
Maybe.
But I think you have I think your case in point about Dave Bautista in Blade Runner 2049, I think that's exactly an apt comparison. Because Denis Villeneuve was given an actor who doesn't have the greatest range, who works well in side supporting roles, but if the brunt of the acting work is put on them, they're not going to do the greatest job. He had an actor like that in Dave Bautista in Blade Runner 2049, and Dave Bautista was excellent because Denis Villeneuve knew his strengths, knew his weaknesses, and highlighted the strengths. And I think we could get something very similar, both with Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa in this movie.
I always like the side actors cast in all of his movies. Like there's I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the guy who's in The Dark Knight, and then he was also in Blade Runner, and he was also in Prisoners. Do you know that the long white guy with the white? He's white, and he has like the kind of large nose.
Oh, who was he?
He was in Ant-Man too.
Oh, was he the Russian guy?
Yeah, and he pops up in a lot of
D. His name starts with D, right?
David something.
Yeah, David.
He pops up in a lot of his movies, and I like seeing. And Blade Runner 2049 had a great supporting cast too. So I think this Dune movie is going to be the next great movie. Hopefully, it makes more money though.
So where's your excitement level right now with Dune?
That's like on a scale of 1 to 10.
Sure,
like 10 out of 10.
Right.
This would definitely be one of my most anticipated for 2020.
Yeah,
probably. I mean, I had to think about what's coming out that year, but probably 1 or 2.
Yeah,
there's going to be no Avengers. There's going to be no Star Wars that year,
as far as we know.
I doubt it, but
Black Widow.
Yeah, but
Guardian Street. Oh wait, but I think. Well, another piece of news that came out in correlation to Jason Momoa's casting is that Dune got a release date for November 20th, 2020.
I don't know if I like that.
It's a similar date to Blade Runner.
That had October. That was October. This is
like
that big Thanksgiving. So the 20th, I believe, is a Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be that Wednesday all the way. It's kind of like what Creed came out on.
Yeah.
I have a hard time seeing this movie being that successful. Do you think this is going to be rated R or PG-13?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't read the source material.
If it's R, I really don't see this movie being that successful. To be honest with you.
I have not read the source material for Dune, so I don't know what the nature of that property is.
I think the original is R, the original movie. Right. So I don't know.
I mean,
and everything he's done is R, I think. Right?
Denis? Yeah. Well, I mean, so Denis Villeneuve did a giant blockbuster science fiction film with Blade Runner 2049. And while the results were great, it didn't do well at the box office. So I can't.
And that one already had like people. I think more people know the name Blade Runner than Dune, even though Blade Runner is not that like popular in the mainstream. I mean, it has its following, but so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't see a studio looking at something like Blade Runner and seeing how that, let's be honest, the movie's excellent and phenomenal, but it bombed at the box office.
Yeah.
I can't imagine them saying, oh yeah, we'll do a giant, big-budgeted, R-rated thing that's less well-known than, like, Dune.
And this has a big cast. It's going to be around $200 million to make, it said.
Yeah, and they're looking, and the last we had heard, Denis was thinking about doing a 2-movie thing. So I just can't see a studio thinking that's okay, that they're going to make money off of this when we just had an example of something along the very same lines and it failed.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm glad that they're
I want to
biting
see it,
the bullet.
but if I was in charge, I wouldn't.
I'm glad they're biting the bullet.
Yeah.
And just doing it because we're going to get an awesome movie.
I would think.
Hopefully. I mean, it's Denis Villeneuve, so I'm hoping. But it doesn't make any financial sense on their part.
I mean, if it is good and it does make a lot of movie, I think they could have a franchise on their hands, which would be awesome. I think they're. I think
just don't know if it will.
I think they've taken a risk here.
Yeah,
gambling.
They definitely are. Who knows? So I mean, no one expected Aquaman to make 1.1 billion. So I mean, but you never know. You never know. You never
a superhero property.
I know, but I'm saying you never really know how these movies. This could come out and make 500 million.
If I had
did anyone predict Avatar to make $2.7 billion?
I'm just, if this is rated R, I will firmly say that I do not think it will be financially successful. That's all I'll say.
We'll have to wait and see how it turns out, regardless of how it does financially. I'm very excited for this movie. Another piece of news that came out. So Star Wars Episode 9 comes out in December. It's coming soon. It's wrapping up this new trilogy of films, the sequel trilogy. And they just finished filming that film.
Sorry, I was reading the chat.
We'll take a look at
particularly the third one in.
we'll take a look at the chat after we get through the main topics. But so Star Wars Episode 9 finished filming. We're going to be getting this film in December. It's February. Do you think with the news of it filming, that filming's over, you think we're getting a title or a trailer anytime soon?
I'd say we probably get the title soon. I'd say trailer. They're probably going to wait for the summer. I bet the first one will come out.
Or Star Wars Celebration in April.
Okay. So April, May. Yeah, close to that range, I bet. Yeah. I'd say that's when we get it. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, J.J. Abrams is back. I think I think they're going to right the ship of this one, in my opinion.
Yeah. So you love Force Awakens, and you weren't as big.
And I haven't liked any of the other ones, really, to be honest with you. So I
just doesn't know what he's talking about. Rogue One is phenomenal.
Han Solo was a complete waste of time, but that's just.
It was a good movie. It was good.
But I just hope that I love these, because I loved Rey and I loved Finn, I loved Poe and Kylo Ren in Force Awakens, but not as much in the sequel. So I just hope I can get back to really appreciating those characters again, because that was my favorite part of because now though I think it's going to be 100% focused on them, because spoiler, Luke's dead, Carrie Fisher died, so she's not going to add that.
Well, I mean, she's still going to be in the movie. But
She won't add that much, though, I don't think.
Yeah.
And Han Solo's dead, so I think this will be the first movie that's mainly with them.
do think we're going to get Force Ghost Luke, though. I think he'll be involved in the movie. Maybe not like a main character like he was in The Last Jedi, but I think he's going to be very prevalent throughout the film as a Force Ghost.
Maybe Yoda again.
Maybe, although I feel like his appearance in The Last Jedi had such an impact and meant so much, because we're like, oh, we get to see Yoda again. I feel like just having him back in this one kind of lessens the importance of that in The Last Jedi, but who knows? I trust J.J. Abrams.
I do too.
I don't like Force Awakens as much as you do. I really like the movie a lot, and I do think it's better than The Last Jedi. But I love his work on Star Trek. I think J.J. Abrams is a great director. I'm very excited to see what he does with this film. And I don't feel like the Star Wars franchise needs to be course corrected like you do, but hopefully he can deliver a satisfying film. And there's nothing that I want more than for a Star Wars movie to come out that everybody loves, and we can just get past all this division in the Star Wars. Say what you want
about Force Awakens. I don't remember the type of backlash.
No,
like Last Jedi got.
I feel like not at all like Last Jedi.
Yeah,
I feel like subsequently there are people who later have come out and said like I don't.
But like I don't remember no one was threatening J.J. Abrams or like
that whole Last Jedi thing. Yeah, so ridiculous.
I mean, like, did I like Last Jedi? No, but I wouldn't go after someone's fan. It's just a movie. Relax.
Exactly. So. Anyways, so episode 9 is finished shooting. Yep. Sure, we'll get titles soon. We'll get a trailer in a few months, probably. We'll have to keep our eyes open for that. And the final thing we want to talk about, and this should be an interesting discussion. So on the show a few episodes ago, we talked about how the Oscars announced, or rather it got told through one of the big trades, that the Oscars were planning on presenting 4 categories off camera. That during commercial breaks, they were going to present best cinematography, best editing, best hair and makeup, and best live action short. And then they would edit together the acceptance speeches, taking out the walks up to the stage or whatever, and then air those later in the show. And my reaction to that was similar to everyone else's reactions, it seemed, that, are you fucking kidding me? This is like one of the stupidest things you can do, because editing and cinematography of all categories, like, why would you cut those out when you have other categories like best documentary short, best animated short? Who cares about best animated short? Especially, like, is that more important than best cinematography? Really? I don't know. Well, before we get into this thing about the Academy reversing their decision, I want to get, because you're a huge proponent for the Oscars shortening their show.
Agreed.
When they announced that best cinematography, best editing, best hair and makeup, and best live action short would be aired during the commercial breaks, what was your impression of that?
I mean, I wasn't that upset about it because, like, in the end, it was still going to be shown on TV. I know it was going to be during the commercials, but it's not like no one was going to be able to see it. And I just thought they need to think of a way to make the show more accessible and more shorter. And I thought it was a good idea to just include maybe just four categories in the commercials. Would those be the categories I would pick? No. But I was excited at the idea of putting some of the awards during the commercials.
See, though, there were a couple layers to this for me. I never wanted any of the categories not to be shown during the show, because I feel like that's the point of the show. Filming this and airing it live and everything is so the whole point is for the awards. And so it especially did not make sense to me that you would not show certain awards when there are other elements to the show that did not need to be there. Why would you not show awards when you could cut out all the musical performances that eat up probably 35 minutes worth of the show? Why not cut out the president of the Academy doing their speech, same speech every year, or any of the other speeches from the Academy members? And why not cut out all those stupid side sketches that they do every year? You know, why would you keep those in and then not show the awards, which is the point of the whole thing? And then, okay, now let's put that part aside and just look at the awards that they decide to choose. Editing and cinematography, two of the most quintessential points and parts of filmmaking, and you're going to disrespect those and put those off screen when you have things like best documentary.
Well, you're still going to see them on the TV.
Well, yeah, but it's still disrespectful to those people to say you're not good enough for the main show.
It's not that you're not good enough. It's just less. I just think less people care about that are watching the Oscars.
Cinematography and editing?
My mother
compared
does not,
to best documentary short?
I'm just saying that a lot of people more those ones should have been in there, but I'm just saying that the categories that they picked were still categories that the main viewing of the Oscar show do not care about.
But I don't think that matters. I think this is a night that honors film and is about the year in film and respecting and honoring and revering film in general. And to just say, to pretty much give the middle finger to editors and cinematographers who, you do not have movies if you do not have a cinematographer and you do not have an editor. You don't have a movie if you don't have those. And for the Academy, which is supposed to revere film and respect film and honor film, and this is the biggest night of the year for filmmakers and people in the film industry. You know, this is our Super Bowl. And for the Academy to just give them the middle finger and say, go fuck yourself. You're not good enough to be on the show. That's disrespectful. And we saw that with the cinematographers and editors coming out saying, hey, what the fuck, essentially.
I mean, I do think that those, like the documentary short, those should have been the ones probably cut out. I do respect the Academy trying to figure, because there's obviously a problem with the show, I feel like.
But that's not the problem, though.
The show's not, if people stop watching the show, you're not going to be able to watch it. If they won't, what if they can't put the show on anymore?
They can just stream it online. You don't have to do it on ABC.
But I mean,
it's still like,
if that's what you want, then that's what you might end up getting. Then
okay. Well, that's fine by me. But even if they're losing people, the Oscars ratings are down, but they're still one of the biggest shows of the year. one of the most watched programs. It was like ABC's like in their top 5 last year. It was the lowest rating Oscars in like a few years, but it was still in the top 5 biggest programs of the year. So it's I think it's a myth to say that the Oscars are losing their losing the audience and are going to be taken off ABC. They're still some of the highest viewed program of the entire year. I do agree with them. Personally, the time does not matter to me, the length of it. You know, as long as it's not like a 6-hour thing or anything like that. Personally, the time doesn't matter to me, but I can understand why they have the need to, okay, let's do it 3 hours. I just think you're looking at, or they're looking at one part as the problem when there's all this other stuff that's the problem. And you could cut all that out, and that would probably take out an hour, as opposed to what happens when you have 4 of those off. What are you saving yourself? 7 minutes? 8 minutes? Especially if you're still airing the speeches.
Yeah.
You're literally just cutting out the walks. What are you saving yourself? 5 minutes when there's all this other stuff that could save you an hour?
I
It
agree.
just feels
that
like misguided.
stuff should be cut out.
It's just complete. I feel like it's completely misprioritizing.
The whole show, I think, needs a better pace to it, because I feel like it starts off every year. It starts off kind of fast, and then as it just gets into the actual awards, it kind of just slows down to this lull until you get to the best picture. I feel like they need to create a way where it seems like it's a faster show in a way, in my opinion.
Yeah. But all that to say, that debate aside, they ended up reversing their decision, and they decided, no, we're going to air all 4. And I'm glad. I'm glad that they decided to do that. I think it was the right thing to do. And
they definitely listened to the fans.
Yeah. And I think of all years to do this, don't do it the year that you don't have a host and you're already still coming off of, like, there's already so many things being changed. This probably wasn't the best year to do it.
No.
If you're going to do it next year or find a better system or something. I don't know. I'm glad that they reversed it. It literally would take them no effort to reverse it. So I'm glad that they saw that people were upset. And I don't think it was just like, oh, people are outraged, therefore let's reverse the decision. Yeah. I think it was more or at least I'm hoping this is the case, that they actually listened to people and realized, oh, this is why people are actually upset. It's not just people are upset, but this is actually why people are upset. Mm-hmm. And then they realized maybe it's for the best that we actually keep it the way it is. Because they could have just put their foot in the ground. And I think the statement that they had put out like the day after the article came out, it seemed like that's what they're doing. They're like, well, people, the headlines made it seem like it's this, but it's not actually that. And then they just restated exactly what the article said. So, I mean, it seemed like they're just putting their foot down and keeping it the way it was, but they changed their mind. So I'm glad that they did that. I think they're still going to keep it to 3 hours and not go over. I think they just have to find other ways to keep it down than disrespecting the categories and the awards, which are the exact reason why you're having it in the first place. Get rid of the extra bullshit.
I hope it's a better show than it has been in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm there to watch the awards. That's what I'm there for. So it doesn't matter to me what other things they do. I just want the awards, and I also want it to be entertaining. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see. The Oscars are in a couple of weeks. It'll be interesting to see what we end up getting. Next weekend,
I believe.
Yeah, you're right. So let's take a look over at the chat. Rich Reviews is with us. Rich, thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks, Rich.
You a baseball person?
Yeah, I like baseball. Big Red Sox fan. Baseball starts in a month. And I guess I'm going on a sports rant. I think baseball, they also, like the Academy, I think they have a problem too. There's way too many games, and the games are way too long. Baseball is not entertaining enough as a sport to last 3 to 4 hours. There was a game in the World Series this year that literally was 19 hours. And I remember the Red Sox were in the World Series, and I fell asleep around like midnight watching the game. And I woke up in the middle of the morning and saw the TV still on. The game was still on. I was like, oh, is this just a repeat of the game? The game was still going, and it was 3 a.m. Like, they had a lot of things to fix when it comes to pitch count and
so I heard their
delay games.
I heard that their solution to that problem is just to have the third inning off camera.
Honestly,
and then just do a montage of all the highlights.
There are solutions there's solutions like in extra innings. Do we put a man on second base to start the inning, or how many pitchers do we allow to be put in during an inning? There's all these kind of things, but they also have problems with their free agents. The players and the owners are really clashing right now. Like Bryce Harper and Manny Machado still haven't gotten their deals, and they're still out there, and they're two of the biggest free agents ever to hit the baseball world. So we got to see what's going on with those guys.
Everything you just said sounded like wah, 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 wah. All right. Well, I think the problem with baseball is that it's a sport and sports are dumb. So let's move on. Rich review. Saw the original Dune at Alamo. I'm assuming Alamo Theaters a few weeks back. Glad for the big budget remake, but I would still need to read the books. Yeah, like we said, I have not read any of the source material. I haven't even seen the David Lynch film. So I literally know nothing about the story, nothing about the characters. My excitement is solely based on the people who are involved, Denis Villeneuve and the cast. And just with that, it is one of my most anticipated of next year.
If this was another filmmaker, I'd say like whatever.
Yeah.
But with him, I'm excited.
Absolutely. I want the Avatar sequels to crash and burn. Well, I'll never root for a movie to fail.
I will.
Well, that's the difference between you and me. But I think where do you think the Avatar movies are going to end up doing? Let's say the second one. Assuming
I think it's going to make even more than the first one.
Never
Why?
count out James Cameron.
If you look at all of his films, they've made more and more money than each other one. So why would it?
I don't think it's going to make more than the first one.
If you look at what's coming out that December, everything's kind of staying away from that. I think it's going to take over. If it's got to be good though, but I think it will be good. Yeah, I think what has to happen with this new one is that because the draw of the first one was that, there's all this brand new 3D technology no one has ever seen before. Exactly. Yeah. There needs to be, it can't just be, it's the continuation of the story. I'm sorry. No one really cares about the Avatar
story. We're like 11 years out. We're going to be 11 years out. This year is 10 years from when the first one came out. At this point, saying it's the continuation of the story isn't enough to get people interested.
I honestly don't even remember what happened in that last movie.
There needs to be some sort of technological draw that gets people to go out in droves again. And do I think it's going to do as well as the first one or surpass it? No. But all the people saying this isn't even going to crack $1 billion. Never count out James Cameron. People doubted him. Every single movie he has made, people have doubted him and said Titanic wasn't going to make money. James Cameron said, if Titanic bombs, you do not have to pay me. And guess what? Titanic became the highest grossing film of all time. 2.3 billion.
One Best Picture at the Oscars.
Exactly. And then Avatar. People said this is not going to make any money. Makes 2.7 billion, beats his original record. Every time people doubt James Cameron, his movies pull through. So I'm never going to doubt him. I'm not going to say, this is going to suck. If he's directing the movie. If he produces it, it's different.
On paper, does it look like a good thing? No, if this was any other director, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? But he
pulls it out every time.
He deserves your like the benefit of the doubt, I feel like.
So all that to say, sorry about that. All that to say, I don't think they're gonna crash and burn. Maybe the quality won't be as good. But again, creatively and like the quality of the films, don't James Cameron. Has he made a bad movie? A widely reviewed bad movie?
I can't think of one.
He hasn't. Is VR the future of theater? It could be. Here's the thing. I think when 3D was becoming popular, people were saying, is 3D the future to theater? And it turned out it was just a gimmick, and people enjoyed it for a time, and then it kind of went away. I think it depends upon how good the VR is and how it's used. Because I think VR could definitely just be a gimmick that gets people to spend an extra $5 on their ticket, and it's cool and it's flashy, but at the end of the day, it doesn't add anything. Or VR could really be used really well, and it is the next stage of theater going experience. We'll have to wait and see how it's actually used in correlation to filmmaking.
I think it's the same thing as 3D. When 3D first came out, like with a film like Avatar, it was influential to that film. But then we saw more and more films just saying, released in 3D, but they were movies that you did not need to see in 3D.
Yeah.
If they use VR, it has to be something where you have to see this movie in VR, dude. Like, it's the coolest thing. Like, it can't just be another lazy gimmick. It has to be actually like made for that film, I feel
exactly.
like.
See, yeah, I think that's exactly right. So we'll have to wait and see. We have not seen a VR movie in like a theater or anything like that. We don't know how do you do storytelling with VR like that, like a wide, because
I think
VR
horror movies would
completely
really
changes the nature of filmmaking. So really, a movie and a story and characters all have to be so perfectly tailored towards the medium of VR. Because VR, you can't really have a VR movie necessarily. It's a movie made for VR. It completely changes.
I think you would have to have a movie where like the main character is what you see from.
Yeah.
And then everybody
a first person movie.
Yes.
Hardcore Henry.
That movie was horrible. I hope it's not.
It was alright.
But I think it would be a really good idea. Maybe like a kind of like a Blair Witch Project kind of movie where you're looking through the woods and like that. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see how that ends up turning out in the next few years. Do you think big multiplexes have a future?
Yeah. I think we're gonna keep seeing more and more of these big, extravagant theaters, and the more smaller theaters are gonna go. I think there's a real. I'd say in the next 10 years, you could see a lot of small movie theaters being extinct. To be honest with you, and just because the way things are going, it's just everything's geared towards the blockbuster film anymore.
Yeah,
and all the smaller movies are kind of more and more of them are heading to Netflix. I feel like, or other streaming services.
Yeah, I think, but the problem that they're going to have to rein in, movie tickets are getting way too expensive.
Yeah.
And I think it's different for us because we have AMC A-List. And so we just click on a movie and it's no problem. But like I was ordering movie tickets the other day and I was realizing this is $13. This ticket is $13. And that's just a regular showing. That's not Dolby. That's not IMAX. That's not 3D. That's not VR. That's not anything. And once you start adding all those on as well, movie tickets are getting expensive. And so I think the benefit of having smaller, like when I'm at school and I have my local theater, tickets there for a matinee, $6.
Yeah.
For a night showing, $8. $8 compared to $13.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the issue with these big multiplexes is that they're going to have to rein in these ticket prices, or else I feel like you're going to see a steep decline in people going to movies, more so than we have right now.
It's also on the studios, too. The more and more they keep spending on these movies, the more and more movie ticket prices are going to skyrocket, too. Like, that movie, Miss Bala, like, I was looking at the prices. I saw that in Dolby. If I had not had A-List, that would have cost me $18 to see that movie.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, I think.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So I think that's one of the things that they're going to have to work through. Let's see. Do you want to see a Vince McMahon biopic?
I don't care about wrestling.
I don't.
But maybe
wrestling.
The movie could be interesting. Lexi Alexander, the director of Punisher Warzone, was supposed to be doing a Chris Benoit biopic. He was the wrestler who apparently he might have had like CTE or some kind of brain injury that made him like kill his whole family and then kill himself. That sounded like an interesting movie, but
yeah,
other than that, I'm not a big wrestling fan. But Fighting with My Family next week looks really good. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, looks all right.
It's got a 90%. What are you gonna say?
All right. I didn't think the trailer looked very good, but that's just me. Do you think there will be episodes 10 through 12?
Eventually.
Yeah, I think they're going to take a few years off.
Not anytime
I think they're reassessing their whole plan. Because I don't think we're going to get a Star Wars movie every year going forward. No. I think that's done. I think what they're going to do is they're going to wait. They're going to put out episode 9.
Focus on their TV projects like The Mandalorian, which is a show I'm actually looking forward to be honest with you.
I think relating to the movies, I think they're going to put out episode 9. I think they want to see how it does.
Yeah.
Because there was, while The Last Jedi made $1.3 billion, which is a success in any rule book. That's fantastic. But it was a steep drop off from The Force Awakens, about $700 million, which I don't think anyone really expected The Last Jedi to make as much as The Force Awakens. And while $1.3 billion is fantastic, it was the highest grossing movie of that year, that's still $700 million drop from the last one, especially since people didn't love Last Jedi. I mean, a lot of people liked it, and it's, I think, across the board, if you talk to everybody, more people liked it than didn't like it, but there's still a very vocal group of people who did not like The Last Jedi, especially compared to The Force Awakens. And then Solo did not make much money at all.
That's probably
Who
the
knows?
first Star Wars movie ever to bomb. Really.
Yeah. So I mean, I genuinely think they don't know how much Episode 9 is going to do. It could be as good as The Force Awakens, but
I
does
think
that
you'll
mean
get at least $1 billion though.
if it's as divided as Last Jedi?
But it's just that December slot. Just like look at Aquaman.
Yeah.
I just think that December slot's going to help
Yeah.
it, and the summer slot really hurts Solo. I feel like.
I think they're gonna just wait and see how Episode 9 does, and then figure it out from there.
Yeah.
So I think maybe they end up doing a Boba Fett movie. Maybe they end up doing something else. Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I think Obi-Wan would be a clear win for them.
Well, they have the Game of Thrones guys supposed to be doing a trilogy, and
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson allegedly doing a trilogy.
Yeah. So I think
Except Super Bros said otherwise.
Yeah.
Even though I honestly think that trilogy is probably never going to happen, but they didn't know what they were talking about.
Ryan Johnson says it's still happening, and he's
I
working.
doubt it.
He said that after Knives Out, he's working on it.
All right, we'll see.
Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't he do it?
Because I just think there was just so much. Like,
Well, that
I
would
think
be a
Disney
personal
does it.
decision.
I think Disney's going to say we're all set. To be honest with you,
I think the decision's not on Disney. I think it's up to him. I think Disney's all for it because Last Jedi made $1.3 billion. They really like The Last Jedi. And most people, even though there are the people who don't like The Last Jedi, and there's a lot of them, most people like The Last Jedi. The average moviegoer who went and saw The Last Jedi, assuming they liked previous Star Wars movies, they liked that one. And I think Disney has no reason to not give him the trilogy. I think it's all on Ryan Johnson, whether or not he wants to go through that, because he went through pretty brutal, terrible things after The Last Jedi, and he's still facing that. And the movie's been out for like a year and a half, and he's still getting death threats. And
these
hate
are
mail
all
and
the
everything.
same people that'll probably be lining up to go see Knives Out. So
Yeah. So, anyways, all that to say, I think maybe eventually we will get 10 through 12, but I think Disney is completely changing their strategy going forward, depending upon how Episode 9 goes. Should the Oscars dump ABC for Netflix?
Well, I
don't think it's up to the Oscars.
Yeah,
it's ABC's.
yeah, I think they have like rights on it or like a contract with.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see ABC one day maybe saying we don't want to have the Oscars on our channel anymore. Maybe.
Yeah, it's not the Oscars' decision; it's ABC's.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you could work on like some kind of live streaming. Netflix doesn't do a lot of like live streaming things though. That's more
No.
of like Hulu.
Yeah.
So maybe something like Hulu could pick it up.
If anything,
Disney owns ABC and they also own Hulu. So
yeah. If anything, I think if it weren't to actually be on the TV channel ABC, it would be on a website and live streamed. But I even don't think that's going to happen because if you look at the ratings for the Oscars, it's still one of ABC's most viewed programs of the year, consistently every year. So right now, there's no reason for them to not go on ABC. And I think the problems that we're hearing about with the Oscars, I don't think it's ABC messing with the Oscars. I think it's all internally at the Oscars.
Next question's good.
I know. Well, those categories don't have a Disney nomination.
Hey, you never know.
It's bullshit.
What?
It is bullshit.
I mean, you never know.
Because if you look at any of the well, first of all, the question is regarding the 4 categories that were going to be presented off screen. If you look at all the other categories, most of them don't have Disney nominations either.
A lot do.
Not all of them.
Picture.
None of the writing ones really. I looked at
the visual effects ones. Or no, they didn't get visual effects.
Well, they did for Avengers.
Mary Poppins
Solo.
got one for the songs.
If you look at all the categories, and I did this after I started hearing people throwing this conspiracy theory around, and it is a conspiracy theory. I went and looked at all the nominations. There are definitely a lot of them that have Disney, but a lot of them don't have Disney, and a lot of them have nothing to do with Disney. And the idea that, oh, well, Disney is just moving those categories because they don't have Disney films in them, that's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. It's someone looking at something after the fact and saying, hey, maybe this, and it's a conspiracy theory. That's what it is.
The mouse is sneaky.
I'm telling you, they're not doing that. And besides, there's plenty of other categories. Best documentary short. Is that any of them Netflix?
Netflix?
Or sorry, Disney? Best documentary short. None of those are Disney. Any of the other categories, you look at them.
Animated short was Disney.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I'm just telling you that don't buy into that. That's not true. If there was a category I would want to see, it's best stunt work and best casting director. Best casting, I think best casting is one. That's one that's always honored at the
Yeah.
SAG Awards. I think they should include a best, especially some of these definitely before best popular film.
Yeah.
But
Best
I
stunt
think
work would be good.
best casting, I think, is definitely one. I've always think that stunt work should be honored, but I've heard people
Put it on that other night.
Yeah, but the thing that I've always heard against it is that it's really hard to tell the stunts in a movie because it's made to seem flawless. Like you're not supposed to be able to tell.
Yeah, that's true too.
But the same thing could be said for visual effects. Although
Yeah.
usually it's the big extravagant like Infinity War where while it all looks great,
But look at
it's-
Winnie the Pooh or Christopher Robin or whatever.
yeah, but I
They
mean
got
obviously
nominated.
Winnie the Pooh wasn't real. A lot
I
of
don't know what
CGI
you're looking at. That looked like a real bear to me.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell great stunt work in a movie just on the surface. You kind of have to be there to really. So I can understand why they don't have that. Even though I think stunt work should be honored by the Academy, but best casting, I completely agree. They should have a casting.
One that
award.
I would like if there were enough films that use this would be like best motion capture performance or
See,
even
I
best
think
vocal work too in a movie. Would
The
be
problem
cool.
is that we don't have enough motion capture performances each year to warrant the category yet. Maybe eventually down the line we will get there.
What about voice work, like in an voiceover work? No.
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like it should just be best performance. And I think, I don't know, I guess you could have voice casting, but honestly, I don't think right now in animated movies and whatnot, the big thing is, oh, let's just get celebrities to do voices because people will recognize them. There is a trade for and an art form to voice performance. That is an art, and there are people who work their entire lives to do purely voice performance. And I think those people are worthy of accolades. But the thing is that so much in big budgeted movies and wide release films, when we have voice performances, it's mostly done just by celebrities who are not trained voice performers. You just have, oh, Ray Romano's voice is unique, so let's have Ray Romano voice.
Or they're just names that they can put on the poster,
Yeah.
so adults will be like, "Oh, I'll take my kid to that one because
Yeah.
I know Adam Sandler." You know,
Yeah, where we see real voice talents and voice actors who that is their craft. We see that more on television than in movies. So I feel like if they were to have a voice performance category for movies, you're going to have Peter Dinklage for Angry Birds, and you'll have Benedict Cumberbatch for The Grinch.
Scarlett Johansson for her.
Well, I mean that's one that was probably more worthy than anything else.
I remember there was a lot of talk. Yeah, I mean it was a good job in that movie.
So, and someone might make an argument against what I just said. That would make sense and would be a reason to have it. But right now, the way I see it, that's kind of my thinking on that.
I'd agree with it.
And then I think this is probably for you, Rob. Will we ever see a female baseball player in MLB?
I mean, I doubt it, but I mean, if there was a woman that could hit at the big league level, yeah, I'm sure someone would hire. I think so.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. It's like for all sports. I mean, they have like women leagues and men leagues, but I mean, they could cross over one day, maybe. I mean, I know they have the WNBA, but
yeah, I don't know anything you're talking
a
about.
lot of with WNBAs, the players aren't necessarily as tall as the men, so it like but I mean, if they could play against the men, sure. It's the same thing with the military. If you're as strong for the position as you need to be, you should be able to be in, no matter what your gender.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to conclude this live installment of the Movie Paradise Show. Again, sorry that the show doesn't look as flashy as it usually does. I just couldn't get the tech stuff to work right. But Tuesday was today. Today's Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. We will be back, and it will have the graphics and everything will look back to normal. I'll show you there. So keep your eyes out for our interview with director Christopher Landon.
That was a good one.
That should be up in a couple of days. And then join us on Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the next live installment of the Movie Paradise Show, as well as on Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Rob, thank you for joining me for this live stream.
Hey, I wasn't doing anything better.
We're going to try to have you on in the future for other ones if you can Skype in.
Always be in the chat. I don't mind.
So we're going to work on that. So thank you for joining us for this, and we'll see you next time.